part 2 of the book of Kings, Israel as United Kingdom and also divided kingdom, which was Judah and Israel. So part 2 of Israel as one, that the first king being Saul, and then second by his son Ishbosheth, and then David, and then Solomon, before the 10 tribes divided themselves into the northern part of the kingdom, which is called Israel, the northern kingdom, and then the remaining 2 tribes became the southern kingdom, which is Judah and Benjamin. So I go through this very quickly. So Israel as a united kingdom, the first king Saul, in 1 Samuel chapter 9 all the way to chapter 31. Saul was the first king of Israel, chosen by God and anointed by the prophet Samuel. He began his kingship as a humble man filled with the Holy Spirit. But within 2 years, pride got the best out of him. He deliberately disobeyed God's clear instructions, and he lost his blessing. According to 1 Samuel chapter 13, verse 13 to 14. And then Saul reigned for about 40 to 42 years before ending his life during a war with the Philistines. The second king under United Kingdom as Israel is Ishbosheth, Saul's son. 2 Samuel chapter 2 verse 8 all the way to 2 Samuel chapter 4 verse 12. Ishbosheth was Saul's son. Though God had not chosen David to be the next king yet, Saul's general Abner tried to put Ishbosheth on the throne according to 2 Samuel 2, 8 to 10. And he reigned for 2 years and over all the tribes except Judah. So there was war. War went on between David's army and Ishbosheth's army until Abner defected and allied himself with David. Okay. Not long after, two assassins murdered Ishbosheth as a king. And they mistakenly thinking that it will please David, according to 2 Samuel chapter 4. But David was not happy about what they did. Okay. And then after that, after Ishbosheth, came King David. So David was Israel's strongest king and was even called a man after God's own heart, according to the book of Acts chapter 13 verse 22. Though anointed as king at a young age, he didn't ascend the throne for 15 years, according to 1 Samuel 16 verse 13. Meanwhile, he was a shepherd, like a writer, a psalmist, a psalm writer, a harpist. He used to play a harp, and a mighty warrior who led Saul's army. And his potential, however, made him a target of Saul's jealousy, which is found today in a lot of good churches and bad churches, fake and true churches. There are fake men of God and good, true men of God. Okay. Saul's attempted to kill David forced him to leave on the run. When he became king at last, he reigned over the tribe of Judah for 7.5 years, according to 2 Samuel chapter 5 verse 4 to 5, and the rest of Israel for another 33 years, according to 1 Kings chapter 2 verse 10 to 11. And then number 4, Solomon also became the 4th king under Israel as a united kingdom. According to 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 2 to 11, 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 2, and all the way to 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 43. And then 2 Chronicles chapter 1, all the way to 9, it talks about Solomon's kingdom. Solomon, David's son, reigned for 40 years as the most prosperous of all Israel's kings. When he first became king, God blessed him with not only world-renowned wisdom, but also great wealth. According to 1 Kings chapter 3, verse 3, all the way to verse 9. He built the famous Solomon's temple in Jerusalem. According to 1 Kings chapter 6, but lust and disobedience brought his downfall. He took hundreds of foreign wives. That's where the problem is. I always say that if it was even Jews, all the women from Jewish descent, God will not be mad at him. But foreign women will change your heart to go serve another gods. Okay? So he took hundreds, many women, as foreign wives and concubines, who led him away from God toward pagan worship. 1 Kings 11, 1 to 8. Okay, 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 1 to 8. And then the result is that God will take part of Solomon's kingdom away. God now will just take his kingdom away from him and from his son. Okay, which is 1 Kings. We see it chapter 11 all the way to chapter 13. Okay, now we come to the divided kingdom after Solomon. Then Solomon's son, and Solomon's, servant. So Solomon's son Rehoboam and Solomon's servant Jeroboam, 10 tribes followed him, and they started their own kingdom. And then the 2 remain in Judah, which through it will bring Jesus as the true king. Okay, so the divided kingdom. When Rehoboam, Solomon's son, came to the throne, 10 of the tribes of Israel rebelled against him, according to 1 Kings chapter 12. As a result, the kingdom split, into 2: Israel, the northern kingdom, and Judah, the southern kingdom. And it was triggered. What actually triggered the rebellion? You see, the people had pleaded with Rehoboam to lessen their burdens, those placed on them when Solomon had turned from God and became an oppressive king. But Rehoboam threatened them with greater burdens. Angered at his cruelty, 10 tribes, except Judah and Benjamin, united under Jeroboam and became a separate nation, still called Israel. So that is how the rebellion came, and then the kingdom got divided. So Israel as the northern kingdom, which was the first king ruled by Jeroboam. Okay, so after Solomon, Israel had 19 kings, all of them ungodly. The line of kings began with Jeroboam the first, around 924 BC, and goes to Hoshea. Okay, during Hoshea's reign, the Assyrians captured the Israelites and brought an end to the nation. Okay, so Israel as a northern kingdom, the first king is Jeroboam, as I have already stated. 1 Kings 12, verse 20, and then 25 to 33, and then 13 all the way to 20. Okay, that's what talks about Jeroboam as the first king of Israel. Though God had promised the kingdom to Jeroboam, Jeroboam turned away from God and started a chain of evil influence during his 22-year reign. Okay, to prevent the Israelites from going to going to Jerusalem temple, right, in Judah to worship, he also set up golden calves in both the northern and the southern regions of his kingdom. So his blend of pagan worship and the worship of God caused a lot of confusion among the people, as you can imagine. So after Jeroboam, who was Solomon's army captain or servant, the second king is Nadab. Nadab is 1 Kings 15 verse 25 to 28. Nadab followed in the footsteps of his father Jeroboam. He only reigned for 2 years before he and Jeroboam other relatives were assassinated by a man named Baasha, according to 1 Kings chapter 15 verse 29. And then the third king is Baasha, who assassinated Jeroboam and his family. So Baasha, according to 1 Kings chapter 15 verse 33 all the way to chapter 16 verse 7. Baasha is the third king. Baasha took the throne by force and reigned for 24 years. The prophet Jehu came to him and prophesied his downfall because Baasha had assassinated Jeroboam's family. Okay? And then the next king is Elah. 1 Kings chapter 16 verse 8 to 10. Elah, who was Baasha's son, only reigned for 2 years. His captain of chariots, Zimri, assassinated him and took the throne from Elah. Okay, so the fifth king is Zimri, according to 1 Kings chapter 16 verse 11 to 20. Zimri destroyed all of Elah and Baasha's household. He destroyed all of Elah and Baasha's household to get the throne, but his reign was short-lived. After 7 days, the people found out what he had done and made Omri king instead. So after Zimri, the sixth king is Omri. Omri took an army and besieged the city of Tirzah, where Zimri was. In desperation, Zimri set his palace on fire and died in the fire. And then Omri, according to 1 Kings chapter 16, verse 21 to 28. Okay? So Omri died. Omri wasn't much better than Zimri in morality, though he did reign for 12 years. But first, he had to deal with civil war when some of the people made a man named Tibni king instead. Okay? Once Tibni died in battle, Omri was able to unite the people under himself. Okay? And then after Omri, as we all see from here, then one of the most wickedest king with his wife, Ahab, which is the seventh king. Ahab, 1 Kings chapter 16, verse 29 through 1 Kings chapter 22, verse 40. Ahab was an evil king, known for his marriage to an idolatrous and cruel woman ever heard of. That's Jezebel. During Ahab's 22-year reign, Jezebel championed the worship of Baal in Israel. She messed up everything, which was against God's, heart desire. God doesn't want you to put him away and bring idols, okay? And who was Baal? Okay, the Canaanite people exalted Baal as a god of fertility. They set up idols and altars where they honored him with animal sacrifices. But the worship didn't stop there. It also involved sexual rites or even sacrificing their own children. Oh my God. Because of all this mess, God sent the prophet Elijah to King Ahab to warn about a coming judgment, a drought. The drought lasted for 3 years until a showdown took place between Elijah and the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel. There, God sent fire from heaven to consume the sacrificial offering prepared for him. 1 Kings 18:38 and verse 39. Demonstrating that he was on Elijah's side. God showed that he was on Elijah's side, and that Ahab's kingdom will be taken away from him. And then after Ahab came Ahaziah. Okay, Ahaziah. 1 Kings chapter 22 verse 51 all the way to 2 Kings chapter 1 verse 18. Ahaziah, who is Ahab's son, wasn't much better than his parents. He continued to encourage national worship of Baal during his 2-year reign. And then after Ahaziah came Jehoram, okay, who is also called Joram. 2 Kings chapter 3 all the way to chapter 9. Jehoram, Ahaziah's son, okay, was also an evil king. Because, beloved, as I already taught in the part 1, all the kings in Israel as a divided kingdom, all of them were bad. Only Jehu was good, but later on Jehu also became a bad king. So all of them were bad. So that's what you're going to see. So Jehoram or Joram, according to 2 Kings chapter 3 all the way to chapter 9, Jehoram, who was Ahaziah's son, was also an evil king. During his 12 years on the throne, he had to deal with many enemy nations, including the Moabites and the Syrians. But he was assassinated by Jehu, okay? He was assassinated by Jehu. And then after that, Jehu became a king. 2 Kings chapter 9 all the way to 2 Kings chapter 10. The prophet Elisha anointed Jehu king while Jehoram was still on the throne, okay? So when Jehoram was still a king, Elijah already had instructed Elisha to anoint him purposely to destroy the house of Ahab and Jezebel, okay? So the prophet Elisha anointed Jehu king while Jehoram was still on the throne. God commissioned Jehu to bring judgment on Ahab's family through prophet, Elijah, before Elijah was taken away. According to 2 Kings chapter 9, verse 7 to 9, and then verse 24 to 27. Jehu tried to reform Israel, but resorted to a less than ideal method, deception. He pretended to be a follower of Baal. And, this is the trick he did to finish them. He pretended to be a follower of Baal and called a gathering, only to kill all those who attended, who were Baal worshippers. Okay? 2 Kings chapter 10, verse 18 to 28. And then 11 after Jehu came Jehoahaz. Okay? 2 Kings chapter 13, verse 1 to 9. Jehoahaz started his 17-year reign at odds with God. Because of his wayward actions, God allowed the Syrians to conquer Israel. But Jehoahaz cried out to God for help, and God in his mercy delivered the Israelites. Okay? So after Jehoahaz, the 12th king is Jehoash, who is also called Joash. 2 Kings chapter 13, verse 10 to 25. Jehoash, also referred to as Joash, was evil like his father Jehoahaz. He also continued to fight against the Syrians, but a prophet of God by the name Elisha came to Jehoash and prophesied that Israel would gain some victories during his time. According to 2 Kings chapter 13th king of Israel under the divided kingdom is Jeroboam II. According to 2 Kings chapter 14, verse 23 to 29. Jeroboam II, Jehoash's son, reigned for 41 years. Though he didn't follow God, he was able to restore some of the coastal lands of Israel. And then after Jeroboam II, who is the 13th king in Israel under the divided kingdom, then the 14th king is Zechariah. Zechariah is seen in 2 Kings chapter 15, verse 8 to 12. Zechariah, who is Jeroboam's son, reigned for 6 months before being killed by Shallum. Okay, so the 15th king is Shallum, according to 2 Kings chapter 15, verse 13 to 15. Shallum, identified in the Bible as the son of Jabesh, okay, began a bloody time in the nation of Israel when he assassinated King Zechariah. Okay, King Zechariah. After only 1 month, Shallum was killed by Menahem. Okay, and then the 16th king of Israel under the divided kingdom became Menahem, according to 2 Kings chapter 15, verse 16 to 22. Okay, Menahem, the son of Gadi, ascended the throne and reigned for 10 years. During this time, the Assyrian king Pul attacked Israel, and Menahem surrendered and agreed to pay him a tribute of money or other resources in exchange for peace. Okay, then the 17th king is Pekahiah, according to 2 Kings chapter 15, verse 23 to 26. Pekahiah was the son of Menahem. He reigned for 2 years until Pekah, a captain in his army, conspired against him and murdered him. Okay, so his captain Pekah murdered him, Menahem, and so Pekahiah became 17th king in Israel, according to 2 Kings chapter 15, verse 23 to 26. Pekahiah was the son of Menahem. He reigned for 2 years until Pekah, a captain in his army, conspired against him and murdered him. The 18th king is Pekah, okay, who actually murdered his master. Pekah, 2 Kings chapter 15, verse 27 to 31. Pekah stayed on the throne for 20 years, facing the attacks of King Tiglath-Pileser of Assyria against Israel. He was murdered by Hoshea. Okay, and then the Hoshea became the last king in Israel under the divided kingdom. So Hoshea became the last king. 2 Kings chapter 17. Hoshea was the last king of Israel. His reign ended with the fall of Israel's capital, Samaria, which ushered in the Assyrian captivity. Okay, so he was the last king, and then they became captives to Assyria. Okay, Assyrian captivity, which is 722 before Christ. Okay, so now we're going to jump quickly to Judah, okay, which is the southern kingdom, Judah's kings. The nation of Judah had 20 kings from Rehoboam's reign, Solomon's son, about 924 BC. 924 BC, okay, which is Rehoboam, 924 BC to the Babylonian captivity in 586 BC. Unlike Israel, Judah had a mixture of good kings and evil kings. Number one, Rehoboam, which is 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 43, all the way to chapter 12, verse 24. 1 Kings chapter 11, verse 43, all the way to 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 24. And then chapter 14, verse 21 to 31, and then 2 Chronicles chapter 10, all the way to chapter 12. Rehoboam was Solomon's son. He initially followed God, according to 2 Chronicles 11:17. But the weakness of his father, lust, brought him down. Two, he also came down by the weakness of his father. You don't take too many women, okay? At least those time, 1 or 2 or 3 is okay. But Solomon went for 1,000. They were too much, okay? So Rehoboam also came down. He followed his father, okay? While Rehoboam reigned over Judah for 17 years, he led the people to worship other gods. When you marry too much foreign women, they will lead you to go away from your father God, okay? God of Israel, God of Isaac, Jacob, and God of Abraham, okay? So it wasn't until the king of Egypt invaded the nation that Rehoboam realized the error of his ways and humbled himself before God, according to 2 Chronicles chapter 14, verse number 2 to verse number 12. Okay, so the second king of Judah is Abijah or Abijah. 1 Kings 15, verse 1 to 8, and then 2 Chronicles chapter 13. Abijah, also called Abijah, was Rehoboam's son. Okay, so that means Solomon's grandson. At the beginning of his 3-year reign, he relied on God and gained victory over Israel in battle, according to 2 Chronicles chapter 13, verse 8 to 22. But like his father, okay, like his father, he also let temptation overcome him, okay, according to 1 Kings chapter 15, verse number 3, okay. And so the third king, who is a very good king, the third king in Judah is King Asa. 1 Kings chapter 15, verse 9 to 24. And then 2 Chronicles chapter 14, all the way to chapter 16. Asa, who was Abijam's son, okay, reigned for 41 years. He was a godly king. You see, his great-grandfather Solomon messed up. His grandfather Rehoboam messed up. But his father also messed up, but he changed his way. That's why when you are a young guy, don't follow your fathers, like many men of God who are bad. If you are a pastor's son, be careful. If they were bad and destroy people's life, be careful. You don't follow it. Change your way and go to God. That's how we do it. So Asa came, he didn't follow those predecessors, but he went a different way, okay? So Asa, who is Abijam's son, okay, reigned for 41 years. He was a godly king who removed the idols in the land and spared reformation. He brought a big change, according to 2 Chronicles chapter 14, verse 1 to 5. He fortified the cities of Judah and defeated the Ethiopians by trusting in God. Okay, according to verse number 9 all the way to verse number 12. Okay, verse 9 to verse 12, which is 2 Chronicles 14. Okay, in his latter years, he made a wrong move in, allying or becoming an ally, allying himself with the king of Syria. God didn't like that. Okay, according to 2 Chronicles chapter 16, verse 2 and verse 7. Then he died of a foot disease because he refused to seek God for help. He was supposed to be remorseful and cry to God, and God could help him, but he refused. So that's why friendship as a king, as a pastor, is very dangerous. You have to be careful. There are bad leaders, very, very evil leaders. So you have to be very, very careful. It has happened to me many times. Be careful, okay? In his latter years, he made wrong move, okay, as I have said, instead of being with God, because he was a good king, but he made mistake, and he died out of a foot disease, okay? Because he would not seek God for help. Okay, so the fourth king is Jehoshaphat, another good king, Okay, First Kings chapter 22 verse 41 all the way to 50. And then Second Chronicles chapter 17, 18, 19, and 20. Okay, Jehoshaphat, who was King Asa's son. Okay, King Asa's son reigned for 25 years and continued the reforms his father had started. Okay, Jehoshaphat was a good king. Okay, he sent priests throughout the nation to teach God's law. During his reign, Judah grew militarily and then economically. Okay, when the Moabites and Ammonites and the Edomites threatened to attack him, as we all know, according to Second Chronicles, it's a popular scripture, Second Chronicles 20:20, Jehoshaphat cried out to God for help, and he sent singers, worshippers, out with the army to praise God. And guess we all know what happened. His reign was successful, but a major mistake would change the course of future generations. Okay, he allied himself also with the ungodly king Ahab of Israel. Okay, Ahab's son. Okay, which Elisha didn't like that. Okay, giving his son Jehoram in marriage to Ahab's daughter. Okay, he gave his son Jehoram in marriage to Ahab's daughter, Athaliah. Okay, that wicked woman, according to Second Chronicles chapter 19 verse 2. And then the fifth king became Jehoram. Okay, the fifth king came Jehoram, who is the son of Jehoshaphat, as we know. And then Jehoram, Jehoshaphat's son, murdered all his brothers when he ascended the throne. Why? Because his wife Athaliah was an evil influencer. She was a wicked witch. She was a witchcraft woman, okay? His wife Athaliah influenced him to turn away from God. And he killed his own brothers, you see? So this is some of us are experiencing. If you don't marry the right woman, you are done. So make sure, that's what we tell our children coming. Make sure you marry the right woman, you marry the right man. Okay? So this is what happened, okay? And consequences followed. Without God's blessing and protection, Judah experienced unrest as the nation of Edom, Libnah revolted against it, according to Second Chronicles chapter 21 verse 8 to 10. Verse 8 to 10. And then finally, Jehoram died of an incurable disease after reigning for 8 years. Okay, he will not follow his father's step. Okay, and that was a mistake Jehoshaphat did for his son. Okay, and then Jehoram, even though Jehoshaphat was a good king, and then Jehoram, according to Second Chronicles chapter 21, Jehoram, Jehoshaphat's son, murdered all his brothers. Okay, I've talked about that. Then number 6 king is Ahaziah. Second Chronicles chapter 22 verse 1 to 9. Okay, Ahaziah was the son of Jehoram and the grandson of King Ahab of Israel, the wicked man. He listened to the wayward advice of his mother, verse number 3, and other counselors instead of following God. After only 1 year on the throne, Ahaziah was killed by King Jehu of Israel. Okay, so now when Ahaziah was killed by Jehu, now Athaliah came, that wicked woman. Okay, according to 2 Kings chapter 11 verse 1 to 16, and then 2 Chronicles chapter 22 verse 10 to 2 Chronicles chapter 22 verse 10 all the way to chapter 23 verse 15. Athaliah was the only woman to reign over Judah. She was the daughter of King Ahab, okay, and Queen Jezebel of Israel. After the death of her son Ahaziah, she destroyed all her rivals to the throne, except for Joash, who we will learn about next. We will learn about him next. Okay, she reigned for 6 years, Athaliah. But you know what she did? But then the priest Jehoiada, together with the captains and guards of the palace, overthrew her and made Joash king instead, according to 2 Chronicles 22, verse 1 to 8. Because she killed, you know why Athaliah was wicked, like Jezebel? Like we would say, Jezebel, You know why? Because he killed all her grandchildren who could rise up to come and reign. He killed all of them. She killed all her grandchildren. Okay, so the 8th king is Joash, according to 2 Kings chapter 11, verse number 12, all the way to chapter 12, verse 21. And then 2 Chronicles chapter 23 to 24. Okay, Joash was Ahaziah's only surviving son. Okay, like we've been talking about, because Athaliah killed most of them. He killed all of them, okay, and left only Joash. Okay, so Joash was Ahaziah's only surviving son, saved by his aunt Jehosheba, who acted quickly when Athaliah was murdering the royal family. You see? So it's his auntie who saved him, because this woman killed all the children, Athaliah. Okay, Jehosheba, together with the priest Jehoiada, you see, what they did is they hid Joash in the temple for 6 years and taught him about God. When Joash turned 7, Jehoiada declared him king in the coup against Queen Athaliah. So if Athaliah knew she was there, she will kill him too. Okay, during the lifetime of Jehoiada, Joash honored God and raised money to repair the temple. So, as we are talking about, King Joash was also a good king. But sadly, when Jehoiada died, Joash turned to idols. You see, some of them, they are good and then they tend to be bad, okay? Joash turned to idols according to 2 Chronicles chapter 24, verse 17 to 18. He even ordered the death of the prophet Zechariah, okay, a relative of Jehoiada, because he didn't like his message. You see, initially he was good and later on he was a bad king. Joash's 40-year reign came to an end when his servant killed him. Okay, so the 9th king in Judah, Amaziah. You see, Amaziah or Amaziah, 2 Kings 14, 1 to 20. 2 Chronicles chapter 25. You see, Amaziah's, Joash's son, was a good king who reigned for 29 years. He defeated the Edomites because he followed God's counsel as communicated through a prophet. Things took a turn for the worse, though after he set up the Edomites' idols in Jerusalem. God sent a prophet to him to call him out, but this time he chose not to listen to the prophet, okay? So without God's blessing and help, he lost a battle to the Israelites and King Jehoash. And finally, a group of conspirators murdered him. So Amaziah was murdered because later on he would not listen to God, okay? And then after Amaziah came Azariah, which we all call King Uzziah. Okay? 2 Kings chapter 14, verse 21 to 22. And then chapter 15, verse 1 to 7. And then 2 Chronicles 26. Okay? Azariah, also known as Uzziah, began his 52-year reign on a good note, but pride was his downfall. He thought he could perform an act of worship in the temple that only the priests were allowed to do so. He burned incense. I think Saul also made that kind of mistakes before. There are certain things only certain people do. God commanded Moses. There are certain things, if you are not qualified, you don't do it. Okay? So he burned incense upon the altar. His presumption resulted in judgment. He was afflicted with leprosy. So that's what you do. So you have to listen to the instructions that are written in this book. Okay? So 11th king in Judah, 11th king is Jotham. 2 Kings 15, verse 32 to 38. And then 2 Chronicles 27. Jotham, the son of Azariah, was a godly king who reigned for 16 years. He helped repair God's temple in Jerusalem and defeated the Ammonites who attacked Judah. And then after Jotham came Ahaz. Oh my God. Another wicked man. Ahaz. 2 Kings 16 verse 1 to 20 and then 2 Chronicles 28. Ahaz didn't follow the example of his father Jotham. He adopted the evil worship practices of surrounding nations, such as serving the idol Baal. He was bad. But his son changed the course. Hezekiah changed it. Okay, Ahaz was very wicked guy. Okay, such as serving the idol Baal and performing pagan rituals of child sacrifice. During his reign, the temple of God closed down. The Syrians and Israelites defeated him in battle, taking many people captive. He allied himself with the Assyrians, but it came at a price of a high tribute. Okay, so after Ahaz, who was a very bad king, wicked, his son Hezekiah changed everything. Okay, Hezekiah was a good king. 2 Kings chapter 18 all the way to chapter 20. And then 2 Chronicles chapter 29 all the way to chapter 32. And then Isaiah chapter 36 all the way to Isaiah chapter 39. We all know about King Hezekiah. He was a good king. Ahaz's son Hezekiah was a godly king that reversed some of his father's evil doing. The nation experienced a prosperous time, spiritual and otherwise. During the 29 years he reigned, he restored the Passover service and a time of celebration that Judah had not experienced since the time of Solomon. So Hezekiah was one of the best kings. He was the one that raised tithe that nobody had raised before. When he came, he didn't follow his father Ahaz, the wicked man. Okay? So when Hezekiah thought he was going to die from sickness, he prayed for healing, and God added 15 more years, because he said, God, remember what I've done for you. And then the 14th king is another crazy man, Manasseh. Oh my God. Manasseh is the 14th king of Judah under the divided kingdom. Manasseh, 2 Kings chapter 21 verse 1 to 18, and then 2 Chronicles 33 1 to 20. Manasseh began his reign at 12 years of age, and he continued for 55 years. He reigned more than anyone in Judah. He was very wicked. This makes him the longest reigning king of Judah. Sadly, he did the opposite of his father Hezekiah and led the people to worship Baal. He practiced witchcraft. You see, Manasseh was too much. He combined all the wickedness, okay? He practiced witchcraft and consulted mediums, okay? Witch doctors, okay? Today we will say, in Africa we will say for witchcraft, okay? He consulted mediums, not to mention that he shed innocent blood. Oh my God. 2 Kings 21 verse 16, okay? And then the Assyrians also attacked Jerusalem and imprisoned Manasseh, leading him to hit rock bottom and repent. As a result, God restored the kingdoms to him. Okay, but he was too wicked. Before he got into trouble, then he humbled himself and prayed to God, and God saved him. Okay, but he was too wicked. Okay, and then the 15th king, number 15, is Ammon. 2 Kings 21 verse 19 to 26. 2 Chronicles 33 verse 21 to 25. Okay, Manasseh's reform was too late to change his son Ammon. Okay, Ammon was an evil king, but he only reigned 2 years before his servant assassinated him. Chapter 16, Josiah, another good king. Josiah, 2 Kings chapter 22 verse 1 to 23. Okay, 2 Kings chapter 22 verse 1 all the way to 2 Kings chapter 23 verse 30. And then 2 Chronicles chapter 34 and 35. Okay, starting at 8 years old, Josiah reigned for 31 years. He followed God despite his evil father Ammon. When the high priest Hilkiah discovered the book of the law of the Lord that had been lost during Manasseh's reign, Josiah took its message to heart. Hearing the judgments that had been prophesied, he cried out to God for mercy. Okay? He asked the Lord to be read to all the people in Israel, starting a reformation and averting judgment during his lifetime. So Josiah was one of the best kings in Judah. Okay? The Bible tells us that there was no king quite like Josiah, who turned to God with all his heart and with all his soul and with all his might, according to 2 Kings chapter 23, verse 25. Okay? And then the 17th king is Jehoahaz. 2 Kings 23, verse 31 to 34. And then 2 Chronicles chapter 36, verse 1 to 4. Jehoahaz. Jehoahaz, who is Josiah's son, was an evil king too, who reigned for only 3 months. He was taken prisoner by Pharaoh Necho of Egypt. Judah came under Egypt's control. Okay? So it's good, everything you do, go back to God. And God will help you, sustain you. Okay? But if you don't go back to God, it becomes chaotic for whatever you do. Okay? So we all learn from that. Okay? And then the 18th king is Jehoiakim. Okay? Jehoiakim, according to 2 Kings chapter 23, verse 31 to 24. 2 Kings chapter 23, verse 31, and then chapter 24, verse 7, all the way to chapter 24, verse 7. And then 2 Chronicles chapter 36, verse 5 to 8. Jehoiakim made ruler by Pharaoh was Jehoahaz's brother. Jehoiakim's reign lasted 11 years, during which he oppressed the people and taxed them heavily so he could pay tribute to the Pharaoh. Okay? And then Babylon also besieged Jerusalem for the first time in 605 before Christ, BC. And then the 19th king of Judah is Jehoiachin. He is also called Jeconiah. 2 Kings chapter 24, verse 8 to 16. And then 2 Chronicles chapter 36, verse 9 to 10. Jehoiachin, sometimes referred to as Jeconiah, was the son of Jehoiakim. He took the throne for 3 months until Babylon besieged Jerusalem the second time, which is 597 BC, and captured many people, including Jehoiachin. He remained in prison until the Babylonians released him in 561 before Christ, 561 BC. 2 Kings chapter 25, verse 27 to 30. And then the last king of Judah and the divided kingdom is Zedekiah. 2 Kings 24, verse 17, all the way to chapter 25, verse 26. 2 Chronicles 36, verse 11 to 21. Zedekiah, Jehoiachin's brother, was a figurehead appointed by the Babylonians. He refused to listen to God's counsel to submit to the Babylonians and rebelled against them during the 11th year of his reign. The Babylonians responded by besieging Jerusalem one final time and destroy Jerusalem and the temple in 586 BC. May the Lord bless you.